Welcome to our video where we have the pleasure to speak with Wassia Kamon, one of the prominent personalities on LinkedIn, about an important topic, women in leadership. Today, Vasya will share her insights and experiences on women and their power and in the leadership roles and how the women can overcome challenges they face in workplaces and anywhere. So without delaying the time and without just wasting the time, I'm going to welcome Vasya. And Vasya, please share your experience with us and let us know about yourself and also what you do and share your leadership philosophy with us and how has it evolved over time. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so much, Maria. Pleasure to be here and thanks for having me. About me, in accounting and finance, I've been an executive and working in the field for about 15 years. I've been working prominently with manufacturing and technology companies. And so my view of leadership is quite different, being where I'm originally from Ivory Coast in West Africa and also being a woman, a Black woman in the US. And so, a couple things that worked for me and have evolved around time is pretty simple. You can read a lot about leadership, but my core principle are one, to be authentic, two, to strive to be fair, and three, to genuinely care. I found that I was able to engage better with the team I was able to lead through the years, being able to implement those principles. Now, it wasn't easy. It's not always straightforward, but I think it's one of those things that with time, you just get better at it.
Exactly. I agree with you that we can better ourselves over time. And Vasya, my next question is: women in leadership may face bias and discrimination due to their gender. So, what's your thought about it? And they receive less pay as compared to their male colleagues, and by the biasness as well, and the promotion. And everything related to the discrimination. So just share your views on it as well.
So the struggle is real. It's not something that, we make up. Research after research have shown that women are lesser paid. And so it's something that is just a fact. Now, how we navigate around it is different. So there is one, we cannot just say it doesn't exist because it does. And so we have to be more proactive in navigating through it to get what we deserve and what we want. First, when it comes to negotiating, for example, your salary, you have to do your research and you have to be comfortable negotiating for what you know, starting with the facts. So let's say you are applying for a position of financial analyst at a company that's over 500 people. You need to do your research to see how much people at those levels are being paid and make it a habit of always negotiating the offer you receive. Okay. So don't assume that, okay, they gave me this. I'm not going to negotiate. The other thing is there is a lot around negotiation itself, because it's not just negotiating the pay. You can negotiate the title. You can negotiate some benefits. You have to have your game plan ready when you go in rather than accepting. And I think that's that's the trap for a lot of women, is that we do not always prepare and we assume good faith or best effort, or don't feel comfortable having those conversations. We have to get over it.
Exactly,
It's on.
because women sometimes underestimated themselves. So it's an important, you can say, it's an important way to discuss your salary first and then accept the offer later. So yeah,
Yes.
that's a valid point. And in your experience, what are some of the unique challenges which women face in their leadership roles?
So first, you always have gender bias, okay?
Hmm.
Because we are seen best as the homemaker.
Hmm.
There is certain department within an organization when it's common to see women. So when you think of HR or marketing, but you see less women in other departments like IT, finance, and operations sometimes in those
Exactly.
leadership roles.
Hmm.
So you can see how it's sometimes more accepted for a woman to be an executive assistant
Hmm.
rather than being the executive that's directing. So you always have those unconscious bias or blatant, just plain bias around our ability to lead and be assertive. So if a woman, for example, raise her voice, okay, she's bossy, what is she trying to say? But if the man raise his voice, he's passionate, right? He's bold, right? So you have all these nuances of being in the same situation, but you
Hmm.
have to learn to navigate through it
Hmm.
and try not to be like raising your voice, for example, to make your point heard. You have to use different strategies to still get your point across, knowing that the way you lead and get things done is not going to be exactly the same way your male counterparts do.
Exactly. We have to own our voice. Like we have a valid point to share with everyone.
Yes,
And we are not bossy. And we should
yes,
not think about it that what people gonna say about ourselves.
yes.
So yeah, be bossy. Be assertive. Be everything which you want uh, to be yourself. Like so, yeah, that's a very good point. And what do you believe are the key qualities that women leaders should have today in order to be successful in their careers or in leadership position which they possess?
The first thing is to be resilient and have
Hmm.
a high level of emotional awareness. So,
Hmm.
self awareness, emotional EQ, you just have to understand your surrounding and be a big strategist on how you're going to navigate. And I use the word navigate a lot because it's not always straightforward for women. So something that may make sense to you will not make sense to others. And
Exactly.
the way we talk about certain things are different, right? So understanding what's the best way to make my point, to get my point across, because
Hmm.
we often, let's say we're in a group where there is like 80% of the people in the room are male, and you don't feel confident to say, to raise your hand and say what you mean. So you have to come up with strategy to say, hey, I have an idea,
Hmm.
or say something. So you want to be able to jump in comfortably in those conversations and speak your mind at
Exactly.
that time.
100% agreed with your point. And Vasya, also tell the audience what role has mentorship played in your career, and also how have you mentored others?
So I didn't get a chance to be mentored for a while. Like I didn't have like, oh, this person is my mentor. That maybe came in maybe year 10 of my journey. So I had like virtual mentors. I had people that I was following, reading interviews about, because LinkedIn was not as big as it is now. I'm dating myself. So we didn't have, the freedom to look into and get insight from somebody you're following. So it was kind of different to have virtual mentors,
Hmm.
for various reasons. Because, and that's the thing too with women, is sometimes our managers are often males,
Yeah.
and they don't always know how to mentor us, okay? Because they're like, oh, okay, I don't want to cross the line, and you have sexual harassment, or somebody may think something different.
Hmm.
And so there is all that part of, the people above us may not feel comfortable mentoring us, right? Because, okay, they may give you some glimpse, but you may not be going to have a drink, let's say, after work with them necessarily, depending on your work schedule and other things as well. There's a fine line there. And I think that's where, when you have a male that's mentoring your male, it's easier on certain levels to just, go have some drink after work. So how you have to be intentional about, having those lunches or breakfast or coffee or those drinks if you want to, but you just have to be intentional about building that relationship and finding people and saying, I want you to be my mentor. What's the best way for us to start that relationship? You have to be proactive, because you're not going to get someone that's going to necessarily going to come in and say, oh, I want to mentor you. You have to be very, very proactive about seeking out the mentors, bringing keeping the relationship alive. It's not on the mentor to try to get you on board. You need them. So you have to be the extra out there to say, to have the best from the relationship. So that's how I seeked out mentorship more aggressively later on in my career. And as far as mentoring others, I've kind of always done it along the way because I felt like if I had a mentor, it could have accelerated my career in some way. And so going along, I was always like volunteering to mentor people or people coming to me and sharing what I could with them to grow. And I've mentored formally and informally. I've mentored through an organization called SCORE, mentoring small business entrepreneurs. I've also mentored informally. So people coming to me and say, hey, can you help me with my resume? Or can you please help me go through life at work in the corporate world here? So been a big joy for me to be able to do it. And more recently, I started late last year, posting on LinkedIn from, again, that same perspective of being the mentor I wish I had.
That's great. And I think having a mentor can really accelerate someone's career. Either it's on a personal level, if you can develop yourself personally and professionally as well. So yeah, having a mentor is really important in your personal development and your the roles which you are giving your services to, like in your company. So you can be very successful if you have a good mentor which can direct you in your career or in your personal development as well. So yeah, that's a valid and great point. Okay, Vasya, next question is, what steps have you taken to develop your leadership skills? All right. And what resources have you found most useful in that process?
For me, it was books. So remember, I didn't have a mentor, okay, for a while. So you have to be very creative, if I can say, in how you develop your leadership skills and not think that leadership skills will be built from like one way. Okay. So there you can learn about it in school, you can take courses online, you can read books, you can listen to different podcasts or interviews of other CFOs. If that's the role, for example, you aspire to listen to how they talk. You can also join different organizations outside of work. So a lot of my leadership skills was not just I didn't just boost them when I was working. It was also me being involved with organization outside and being involved in other things that also helped, because you learn leadership from raising a family. Okay. You learn leadership from raising kids.
Exactly.
You learn leadership from attending different conferences and putting yourself out there, from learning best practices from others. So you learn leadership in so many ways. But it's something that you do have to be intentional about. It's out there, but you do have to be willing to put the work.
Yeah, you should have a confidence within yourself that you can do everything in this world. Like nothing is stopping you to go ahead and just do your own thing. So many
Yes.
women face underconfidence within themselves, and they just think that they cannot do certain things in their career or in personal life as well. So that's what we should stop ourselves from, and we should work on it. Read books, listen to podcasts, and do your own homework, like enhance your own skill set in order to be successful in your careers and climbing up the ladder um, which you want to do in your life. Yeah, which is your end goal. Certainly.
Well, the thing is, it's for us women to realize that confidence is like a muscle. So we tend to think that we see other female leaders like, oh, they're so strong, they're so confident, and we tend to forget that you can be that way too. And two, nobody is born, necessarily
Yeah,
born that way, right?
exactly.
So it's something that you have to be willing to work on, right? So you can work on your confidence so many ways, whether it's you waking up in the morning and speaking to yourself in front of the mirror. You
Exactly.
have to say it out loud. You have to say you got it. You have to be your own cheerleader. You have to come with your own ways as you research as well of building your confidence, because that's what will make a big difference. When you raise your voice in meetings, how you show up to different occasions, the
Yeah.
confidence is, besides leadership, that's what will really help, especially for women, because it's easy for people to talk us down. It's easy for people to speak over us as if they, whether or not they have more experience, right? It's the stereotypes that we sometimes have. So you have, so the world is almost like a bank, okay? Think of confidence like a bank. You have to make those deposits because there will be a lot of withdrawals. And
Exactly.
that's with people not even realizing what they just did, not even realizing that they just interrupted your thought, not just realizing that they're passing over, they're thinking that for the next role, that's the leadership role, we need this guy, why not this girl, right? So
Exactly.
you have to be confident to, advocate your case and make your voice heard.
Exactly. And I have my own example because I was really underconfident in previous years. And I had worked on myself, on my confidence, on my personal brand, and everything related to myself. So the way I speak now, I can never imagine I can speak like this 2 years
Awesome.
ago. And yeah, because I had worked on myself. I just thought one day that why don't I speak like them, like they are speaking so confidently, why don't I speak like them? So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that's the resilience, and that's the consistency which can make you succeed in your life and in your career as well. So that's the very positive and great point which you raised, that you should work on yourself. You should do your own case when in front of you, like somebody can advocate your case in front of everyone. So yeah, that's the whole point of this conversation. And one more question as well, like what are some of the effective ways to address and overcome imposter syndrome, which we women are having on a daily basis, and self doubt as well? So how can we eliminate these two things in our life?
So I had imposter syndrome too. I went through it early in my career. I'm naturally an extrovert, but I found myself shutting down and not being able to utter a word because
Hmm.
of that.
Hmm.
And one thing that helped first was to realize that you are in that room, quote unquote, for a reason. Okay. If you were not enough,
Hmm.
if you couldn't do it, people will not waste their money or their time having you in that role.
Hmm.
You have
Exactly.
what it takes. And so that's the first thing to realize is you're not there by accident. You earned it, you worked hard for it. Okay. When you go back to that job description that asked for a certain degree, you worked through, passed all these exams, and got that degree, that certificate that you had. When you go back and you look at the job description, whatever role you are in, and you're like, no, I did this. I deserve to be there. I have something to bring to the table, and that thing is extremely valuable. So it's really understanding at first what brought you to where you are before you even say, oh, I'm not enough for it. You have to realize, yes, I deserve to be here. Sit tall, all proud, and say, yeah, I'm here. I'm here for a reason. I have something good to say. And so the other thing is for you to have to keep some sort of a log of your accomplishment. Again, think in terms as we in finance, right? Think
Hmm.
in terms of a bank, right? You may forget some of the great things you did. I usually keep a Word document or accomplishment. Okay, I did this, or good remarks from former bosses, from performance reviews. You have to remind yourself sometimes how good you are, just in case you get knocked down by someone's comment. And so you realize the more you do it, you building up that resilience and that resistance to where even like the slightest comment is not going to make you feel less than, because you're like, they probably have their own issues. I'm good, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
so you have to keep those things as well. And the third thing is to have a girl power group, right? A girl, some type of an accountability group, other women that are cheering you on, other male as well, mentors and partners that you can have to help you as well in that process. Because it is a journey, especially as women, that you don't want to be doing it alone. You want to make sure you have as much support as you can in those moments as well.
Exactly. I have also made a folder in my laptop, and I've named it as personal achievements for you. Like
Yes.
I am talking to myself that you have achieved these things in your career and in your personal life, and I have gathered all of the recommendation from my colleagues and employers and any person that has recommended me and celebrated me as a person. And I have gathered everything, and it just boost my mood, and it just
Yes.
motivated me a lot. So yeah, that's the practice we all women should follow, and it can bring so much happiness in your day, and you can just do your thing more gracefully and more powerful, in a more powerful way. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
so that's the best practice. And Vasya, one more thing I would like to ask is, what initiatives have you implemented to promote work life balance and support the well-being of your team members?
So first, it starts with me because studies show managers and leaders are more amplifiers to the team. So if you are a leader that's stressed out, your team will be stressed out even more before you realize it because you are transmitting, if I can say, those vibes. So
Hmm.
for me, it's learning to say no and stand on it. Okay. Because the more because if you're not saying no, you will tend to overwork yourself, overcommit on different things you cannot do or
Exactly.
cannot do without a lot of stress. So you keep
Hmm.
saying yes, 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 yes to please people,
Hmm.
and you're not filtering what's really important, how you should, what really matters. Like why should you do this versus that? Are you going to waste your time and your energy? So you have to learn to do it for yourself, and that will allow you to do it for your teammates. So when
Hmm.
somebody else is sending different requests or requirement, you have to filter it through those same lenses. Is it
Hmm.
going to put extra work on your team that they cannot take right now? How can you negotiate maybe extend that deadline, or how can you make sure you achieve the same thing maybe with some research you already did? So you have to constantly think in those terms, not
Hmm.
only for you but also for your team, because that's how you'll be able to get that work life balance. And it's the same thing at home, right? So if you have kids, you have a spouse, you have different commitments. Okay, your kids want to do karate, swimming, Girl Scout. They want to do this. They want to do judo. They want to. Okay, at some point, you the parents have to say no. Okay, it just you have to be okay to say no. Or if you have to go to 10 or 15 birthday parties in 1 month, I mean that's crazy. When do you rest? So you have to be able to do the same thing not only at work but also at home, because that balance has to be in both worlds. And
Exactly.
you really not always exactly balance. At some point one part just life. Okay, yes, we strive for balance in the real world, it's not always the case. If somebody gets sick at home, well, home is going to take more time than work. Okay, if you have a tough deadline, well, okay, all of a sudden work is taking more time. So
Hmm.
try finding that balance is already a challenge because of the way life is. We can't control everything that happens. But
Yeah.
as much as you can, you
Exactly.
have to do your own filtering of what needs your energy and time.
Exactly, spot on. And Vasya, my last question is, what advice would you give to aspiring women leaders on how to overcome obstacles and achieve success in their careers, or for any leadership roles which they want to acquire in the future?
First will be to believe that they're not lesser than.
Yeah.
And that to me has been key personally. You have to understand that you are equipped to do whatever you want to do.
Hmm.
Two, you have to be intentional about your development. You cannot let your personal and career development into the hands of men or of an HR department. You have to own it 100%. And you have to advocate, that's the third part, advocate for yourself. If you want a certain role, okay, how many people know that you want it?
Hmm.
What are you trying to do? What kind of alliances are you trying to get at work? Do you have a sponsor at work that will speak good of you even when you're not in the room? Are you building those relationships at work with people that are of influence at your peer level or even your upcoming employees? What are you doing networking wise to make sure that you also have a network that's supportive of you? as you advocate for yourself. So definitely believing in yourself, influencing as well, are so important for women to understand. But to me, it really starts with believing deep down that you got what it takes.
Exactly, I'm 100% agreed with you. I think women should learn to make their own brand, and we should work on our personal brand first, and then work on our jobs later. Like balance both of the things. Yeah,
Yes, you want them both.
exactly. Work on both things. And the first thing is definitely going to help you in long term. If you build your personal brand, you can have so many sponsors for yourself. Like on job, you have 2 to 3 sponsors, but if you make your own personal brand, you cannot imagine how many people can sponsor you for the opportunities which they will be having for you in the future. So yeah, work on these things, work on your skill set, and as Vasya said, just do your own thing, be your own boss, and don't ever think about what everyone is gonna think for you. Like, do everything which you want in your life and make your own self proud for you. So thank you so much for watching our video, and we hope that you found Vasya's insights and experiences in like an inspiration to you and useful for you as well. And I really thank Wasia for her time and
Thank
efforts
you.
for this conversation, which should and which should be an integral part for any woman's life. And thank you so much, Wasia, for your time and everything. And I hope that we should do more videos in future, and I will be having another session with you in future as well. Thank you so much, Vasya.
Maria. Thank you, Maria. Thank you, everyone.
You're welcome.